Are you a business owner looking for real advice and input? You're in the right place. From concept to launch to growth, funding, and beyond. Welcome to Startup Hustle with your hosts. One once sold a business for $150 million. The other, the author of $1 Million Bedroom. Here are your hosts of Startup Hustle, Matt DeCoursey and Matt Watson.
And we're back. Matt DeCoursey here with the thrilling conclusion coming from Jake Randall in part two of what we will now call, it was Business Failure 101. We're going to move into the 200 level course.
Let's do it.
We didn't realize that we were going to have a thrilling conclusion. I honestly think this is interesting. It was unexpected. I wasn't, so we've been talking about the Donut Lounge, Jake Randall here with an interesting story. It's filled with heartbreak. We thought the plane was about to hit the ground. It was in a death spiral. and then now Jake, who was once in the seminary or some kind of ministry to learn how to maybe be a preacher, and all of a sudden we got our arms up in the air and we said, "Praise be, we have received what we have wanted."
It's true, man.
Manna from heaven, whatever the hell you want to call it, donuts from heaven. And in walks salvation.
It does.
Tell me about it.
So yeah, like I was saying before.
Was that overplayed, by the way? I was really trying to hype it up.
That was actually really good.
We made people come back for a second day here, and it's going to be worth it. So.
No, I'm not joking. Guy walks in. He was one of my regulars and owned a company in Westport, and it was the day he sold his business. It was his last day on retainer. He was there for a year, sold his business, came in. And the story goes like this. He was kind of sad, looked kind of sad, and I said, "You okay? And here's a free coffee. I hope it makes your day better." I'm not joking. And he looks at me and he's like, "Yeah, he told me a story about his last day at work." And he looks at me and he says, "Do you need any help?" And I'm like,
"You're just thinking he wants a job."
Well, I was like, and again, I'm learning not to be so wear my life in my sleeves at this point. Like, I've been bit a few times, so I'm like trying to hold back like the fear and just puke at him. And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, "You know what?" And he said this to me, and he's like, "I've watched you for the last 2 years work your butt off." He's like, "I just wonder if there's anything we can help grow this place. We can blah blah blah." And I thought, oh my God,
sitting there going, "Wow, this really is my savior."
Oh, I was begging, praying, pleading for something because I didn't want to see my dream fail. And so
here comes this dude with a checkbook.
Yep.
And you're like, "Okay,
here we go."
So what happened?
So we go out for beers. I share everything. Here's all of our debt. Here's all of our success. So
you're pretty transparent. You're like, "Hey man, this is a mess. Like if you hadn't walked in,
yes.
I probably would have locked the door and left the key and gone home."
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so how did he react to that?
Well, a lot of it, he brought some of his people in and to look at the books, to look at our history, to look at things. And for them it was a risk.
Sure.
And they came to me and said, "Hey."
Did they have experience operating businesses like this? Did they have some domain knowledge, like some understanding, or at least were they representing possibly, or?
Red flag number one, no restaurant or any realm in that world. Experience.
You do realize in the history of this whole story that you've told, I haven't yet to hear about one person that seems to, except for the chef that quit.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like many people were, and we're getting into this, part of what we have to resolve here is not only the story, but some of the lessons from this.
Yes.
And you've mentioned many times, you're like, "I didn't surround myself with the right people." You clearly needed to have someone that was an expert in the operations of this kind of business. Okay, so but anyway, you don't care at this point because you're like, "Hey, I'll take it."
Well, then it gets a little hairy because then it's like, "Hey, we're only going to do it if we take 75%.
Okay.
And I'm like,
well, it's better to own 25% of something.
What's 100 of nothing?
Yep.
So here we go. And there's the huge expectations, but also we got this thing figured out. I got a team now. We're going to go for it.
You've been so transparent, and I would have. My answer would be yes. Did you cry at some point when you realized that someone was coming to save the day? Because I probably would have. I'm not a big crier, but I probably would have. I would have just been at some point I would have been maybe just out of relief.
They're the two biggest emotional days was the day that happened and then the day that I found out it's over.
Yeah.
And so, yes,
Right,
that
right.
was
I get it.
that was a call my wife, screaming, dancing.
I've cried more over business than I have over anything else in my whole entire life, which is kind of weird.
Because it's a
And
moment.
it hasn't been a lot, but I mean, it's largely been out of pride. And then another time when I just felt like I let everyone down, and it was like one of those weird things where I woke up at like 3 a.m. and like cried. And my wife woke up and she's like, "What's going on?" I'm like, "I feel like I let everybody down." And she like patted me on the back, and then like 5 minutes later I went to bed, and it was like 8 years later I cried again.
If anyone
I'm a pretty emotional and passionate dude, but that's not usually that part isn't the waterworks aren't usually part of it. But I get the feeling.
If anyone knows me, I'm a crier. I cry at everything. So me tearing up a little bit here.
And you did almost earlier. That tells you like the level of passion and like and everything, and I appreciate that. And that's what's making the story good. All right, so here comes these red flags. They don't have any restaurant experience, but they're going to give this another whirl.
Well, at the end of the day, is I was so thankful.
Right.
I was so honored that they would see
your vision,
to see the hard work. They would see what this could be, the low-hanging fruit. If we just tweak this, the way I always described it is that we were on the launching pad. The rocket was there.
Get it.
And all it needed was just
a match.
It needed some engineering. Like there was a wire that was just in the wrong place, and if I could find an engineer to just put the few of the wires in the right place, this thing would take off. So there was these promises. Let's fix it. Blah blah blah. Well, we started to. So Westport was dying, by the way. Now the writing's on the wall. Westport. Everyone's down 30% in the whole Westport area. Everyone's struggling. So what they decided to do is they wanted to open up 2 more locations instead of 1. If you build it, they will come. Was their mentality.
Now some people are going to hear that and they're going to think, "Man, they're crazy. You have 1 location that's failing. Why would you open 2 more?" There's actually a lot of merit to that because
the subway story.
Yeah, well, and there's a lot, but you can actually lower your overall costs by having more locations and doing more sales. But, and we don't have time to get into that, but there is some merit to this approach.
So we open up North Kansas City. We open up Overland Park. About this point, when I first decided to do this, the only way I was going to do it is because I realized I don't have the headspace, my emotions to do operations. What I'm good at is building relationships, business development, telling the story of Donut Lounge, getting out there, and I was like, I'm going to go do wholesale. So I'm going to sign up the Cerners, the Sprints. I'm going to get the big dogs for some of these big contracts to do some of the food for them. And it was working. We're doing weddings. We just got a food truck.
So now you are literally back.
I'm back.
You somehow pulled the plane out. Like the belly of the plane scraped the ground on the way to you like sweeping back up.
And the plane is taking off. Now,
this is going to be even worse because we clearly know that there's failure in the end here. Like we haven't really been shy about this. Like, I mean, I got to ask you, man, and I know you've been saying geez, oh, Pete's, but I don't think there's any other way to say this. How did you guys fuck this up the second time?
Oh, just wait. So there's cash influx coming, right? These guys, and I'm so thankful for them, honestly, because they're dumping cash into this thing, but things are unraveling. And you think operations was bad then?
Yeah.
Now operations, we didn't fix Westport.
If you don't know how to run 1 spot, you can't run.
We can't run 3, and things are just odd.
So, like I said, the theory of that makes sense because 3 locations now only need 1 accountant or 1 centralized this or that. But if you can't run 1, you definitely can't run 3.
So I step out.
Be brilliant on the basics.
That's exactly it.
Rule 1.
I step out, so I'm doing, but then I get kind of sucked back in. So, we're trying to penny pinch a little things, so I was helping build out the North Kansas City location, help building out the downtown Overland Park location, doing all the work. Like I'm doing construction work now.
Yep.
So I'm going from I'm loving life to like being free, not having to be at Donut Lounge every day, building relationship. I was bringing in really good money every month from from doing what I'm doing. Now getting sucked back in because things are starting to unravel. The money in is not really working. We're not seeing the returns. And now we're back to what are we doing? But now at this point, I only own 25. So I'm trying to give advice. I'm trying to, but again, there's a part of me going I don't know how to fix it either. Like I sold because I thought you guys could fix it. And now I'm going, man, like now they're asking for my advice and what would I do? I'm like, oh boy, we're in trouble. Like the plane
made it 3 times as bad.
Yeah, and now it's bad. Because now we have a bakery in North. We went up to our production up in North Carolina to do our baking up there now. We have 3 kitchens now.
More commitment, more overhead.
Yep.
More stuff to manage.
Yep.
Okay, so now the plane's going to head back into a tailspin.
It starts tailspinning
So
again.
so
Quick.
literally the belly rubbed the ground, and then you're shooting straight back up to the sky.
Dude, North Kansas City was open, I think, for 3 months. Opened, full build out, closed. We sat in a meeting. I will never forget this day. We sat in. We were always closed on Mondays, so we had, instead of Sunday, just to give everyone a day just to breathe. And
I feel like Monday morning's kind of a big day for donuts.
it
bro.
wasn't.
It's not. All right, sure.
I know.
Anyway, I don't want
We
to get
thought
off track there. So you're sitting in the meeting.
We're sitting in this meeting.
I
And
felt that was like Chick-fil-A not being open on Sunday and wondering how they're going to raise their revenue. Anyway, they had a meeting about that once, but go ahead.
So we're sitting in this meeting, and it was literally the conversation went as plain as day. We're done. We're not putting more money in, so what do we want to do? And so I'm like, what do you mean you're not, like, how are we going to pay, like, how do you just stop? You put and they're just like, you know what?
You just stop.
They just stop.
Yeah.
And I don't commend them for ripping my jugular out and my dreams. That's not their fault. I mean, at the end of the day, it's not their fault. But
they may have saved your dreams at one point too.
I know.
Because it was dead.
It was dead.
It was dead before that. So
was.
you got here we are, and I'm picturing like watching ER, because my wife is like somehow making it through like all 20 seasons, by the way.
Good for her.
Oh, no. But you were rubbing the paddles together.
Yes.
You're going clear, and they slap those things on you, and your body jumps up, and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, hey, what's up? What's going on, guys? And they're like, yeah, we're going to open some more stores. And you're like, sweet, I'm in. But, all right, so you get the second shot at redemption, which, all right. So, look, and I'm trying to be pretty, like blue team, red team, or whatever.
No,
here.
you're
like,
good, man.
On
Just
some
shoot me
levels,
straight.
like, I mean, they did come back and kind of rescue you from the dead. That's a tough offer to not take. Like, I mean, and like you said, owning 25% of something's way better than.
Oh.
Yeah. So, but
I wasn't mad. I mean, don't get me wrong. To give up.
No, that wasn't the wrong. I don't have any
Yeah.
issue with that decision.
Yeah.
And then honestly, I don't even have a problem with the decision that they didn't know anything about running the restaurant business. Like at that point, like why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I think anybody listening there is going to probably say that. Like, why not? Like, I would have done the same thing.
Yep.
Literally, why not? But, all right, so now you're here, you're back. And by the way, folks, if you want to be an entrepreneur, especially if you want to start something new, all right, this is why people open a Subway. Because Subway comes with an 800 number and a regional manager and an ad plan and like built-in clients and customers and more importantly, an owner's manual.
Yeah, what to do when your employees are running a Coke ring out of your bathroom. Yeah, stuff like that.
I don't even know if I
Don't
want to
even-
touch that one.
Bro,
So wait a minute. We're not going to touch that one.
No.
But, all right, so here we are. We're back in the death spiral, and now they're saying, hey, guess what? We know we're going to hit the ground, and now we're going to do it.
Yep.
Boom. Or was it more like kind of like, maybe we'll just kind of skid and then.
No, it literally went like this. So we're done, and it got pretty heated. It was what are we gonna do? But then,
when you say it got heated amongst those involved.
of course,
Okay, sure.
because
natural. I don't think that's unnatural.
No, because
stress and then failure and then obviously like nothing gets people more fired up than money.
Well, exactly. We're losing. So what happened was this was on a Monday, and so on Tuesday, I think we were gonna like close the doors on that Friday or something like that. I can't remember this. This is again, I barely can even remember like all the conversation because I was just such in shock. pretty much what happened was
when you look back at that, are you surprised you were in shock? Because it sounds to me like the writing was on the wall like for a long time in some of these spots. Like,
dude,
I mean, or
but
is it
think
just
about
more
it.
of like?
Yes, the writing was on the wall probably from day one.
Yeah.
If you look in, but it's the tunnel vision, the to believe in something that's just not true. It's real because it's your baby, and you created something and you wanted it so bad that you will fight, steal, scratch, do whatever.
So you were in
gotta do.
denial.
I was in complete denial.
Right. You didn't want to believe what was really going on.
Because you know how the conversation would go? You know, hey, Matt, I think I need to shut the doors. What are you talking about, Jake? Look at what you've done. Look what you've created.
Yeah. But that's not a reality.
But it wasn't reality.
So, all right. So, we need to draw this down to the end.
Yeah.
So now we're closing on Friday.
Closing on Friday. The next day, get a phone call and said, hey, Jake, we changed our mind.
You gotta be
I'm not
kidding
joking.
me, dude.
They said, we're going to close Westport, but we're going to keep the other 2 stores open. And so I'm up again.
Claire.
Yeah. So I'm up again. Hope.
Oh, my God.
Here we go. At this point.
We're not going to a third episode.
No, we're not. So, but I
Just
can't,
so you know.
But I can't make this stuff up.
You really can't.
So we go throughout the week. Excited. The following Monday comes, and I go to meet some of the team there because we're going to talk about how we're going to close Westport, like how we're going to move. So, again, now I'm back in operations. Like, how did I get here? But I'm back in it. I'm back in the fold. I'm back doing everything. So we decided to talk about how we're maybe going to move some employees to one store, how we're going to tell what's our press release going to look like. And I walk in, and it's a Monday morning. I walk in, and one of the main guys looks at me and says, "It's over."
Oh wow! So you thought you had a pulse again,
and he looks at me and he says,
didn't.
"It's over."
Oh, man.
And I said, "What? And he said, all stores will not open tomorrow." And that was the last day of Donut Lounge. And honestly, man,
I just got the weirdest chills. Like, look, you can verify I have like goosebumps. I was like, and by the way, though, while that was very direct, it was also very anticlimactic at the same, because really in the end, when you take so much of what you've described and the story you told was glazed with emotion. Yes, that pun was intended.
You're good at
but
those,
I'm
man.
trying, man. But it was, but it was glazed. It was covered in emotion.
Yeah.
But in the end, like, I mean, really, like, and by the way, what a great story. And for those of you listening, like, how about this guy? Like, just being as open
Thank you.
about some of it, drawn to the point of tears. And, like, I mean, let's, on the same, like, dude, tons of businesses. There's a business somewhere failing right now.
Yes.
But, to be able to tell the story is very commendable. Every business fails for lots of different reasons, and this is where I want to kind of wind this down and just like spend a few minutes like talking about. So you got it. All right, hindsight's 2020, man.
Exactly.
I mean, or 2010, or laser sharp. But clearly you've expressed like what I've seen here or heard here is all right. You realize you didn't have the right people around you.
That's right.
Clutch.
Yes.
Important thing. So my uncle, who's I wrote about $1 Million Bedroom.
Jim.
Yeah, Jim.
Yeah.
Like, dude was one of the inventors of the model home.
General or whatever?
General Homes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he said, I always hire people that are smarter than me.
Yes.
Big important thing. Like, do it. Like, because why not? You got to hire the best people. You got to get people with experience. I think some of the other things too that it doesn't sound at any point that this was ever properly resourced. Like when you're opening on day one, and it's
With
not
$500. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but that's not uncommon because people are really bad about planning. Now, your plan's always going to be wrong. Your projections, your layouts, the things that you want to do are always going to be wrong. Like there's no way to be 100% right.
Yeah.
So don't beat yourself up about that, but you got to give yourself padding. Because you went 6 months, you were 6 months behind, and I have a feeling that your original plan did not, that is where it originally got ugly.
And that's where that's exactly, I was saying, it started before the doors opened. The plan imploded before the doors were open. So capital, yes.
Not properly resourced.
So you
have to make sure that your business and your opportunity and what you're doing, and now look, that's hard. Because a lot, one of my first businesses and the most successful was like, a lot of people start a business by an accident. It's an accident. You're not trying to plan it. So most businesses are under-resourced, but you gotta give some idea about, you can't just always hope for that. I mean, dude, you got CPR resuscitation, like back from the dead, multiple times.
Yes.
And by the way, that's usually not the way that goes.
I know.
So many businesses crater before they even get the door open. So, that oh shit line, that extra padding, that extra plan was in there. It sounds like there's some other things related to, like I used the phrase earlier, be brilliant about the basics. Accounting. A basic. Now, by the way, it's not uncommon. In literally every business, I've had a couple businesses that grew like rapid. You're going to make a mess along the way to that. Like, there's no way, like Full Scale was like that. We got to 170, almost 180 employees in a year, which is insane. And there's no way to get there without creating a problem. But because I've had to undo that ball of rubber band, so like one of the things, like I have a feeling that you guys had created no protocol, no procedure, anything. You just kind of opened the door. You're like, we're going to figure this out. Is that correct?
I would say, I'm just go with yes.
You had some recipes, but like, were you handling like what happens when the bathroom toilet overflows?
No.
When the line's got 60 people in it?
No.
And those things are important because now you're adding to the chaos.
All we cared about was getting the doors open.
Yeah, and by the way, sometimes that's just the way it goes too.
Yeah.
You do have to figure a lot of this stuff out, but and anytime you have a new business, anything that happens is always the first time it happened until it isn't. And I know that sounded like overly wordplay-ish, but it's true. Like, but you have to start to continue to plan and like, okay, so when this happens, we'll do this again next time, and or whatever, and that's a challenge. And now and then I have a feeling as you guys moved to the second and third location that none of this protocol still didn't exist, did it?
All it did is glorify. All it is your organizations. All it did is just create a bigger mess.
Yeah. So looking back at this, like, all right, so you've mentioned a lot of things. And once again, man, thanks so much for the story.
Dude,
I was not expecting a second episode out of this. Like, for real. Like, but it was warranted. And especially at that moment, I didn't realize we're going to get a whole nother year. But when you look back at it, like, what's the one thing you're like, that was the dumbest thing, like the clearest oversight? And you mentioned a few, but like, what's the one that, like, if you could go back and do it over again, you're like, I definitely would not have done this?
I think we talked about denial is huge, right?
Right.
It's you have blood, sweat, tears, it all. You've put it on the line. You've sacrificed. You've sacrificed for your family and for everything. So you get very tunnel vision. So I would say this to your listeners, like, some words of wisdom is start really trying to understand when it might be over, because man, it's hard to, like, your listeners are gonna be like, this guy is an idiot. And honestly,
I don't think you are, man. I just think this is like, this happens, man.
I mortgaged my house at the end. I borrowed like $50,000 from my dad. I started doing things because I believed in this thing so much. And I believed in my team, and I believed in what we were creating, and I would say the biggest, dumbest thing is listen to your gut and just kind of know when it's over. If I would have shut the doors when
the gut's a big thing for me. Like, it's taken me a long time to trust it, but
I don't regret keep going and fighting and doing all that. But at the same time, I could be, I would have saved a lot of money. So I think the dumbest thing is whether it be these stupid.
I'm hearing like I think you have I'm sensing a sense of regret that you may have dragged others down the black hole.
Yeah.
Like the money from dad.
Yeah.
Or the home.
Yes.
Or something like that.
Yeah.
And
I kept, and other people, dude, people believed in it too. They're like, of course. I mean, look at what we can do, and look at this thing grow, and it just going through a phase, and blah blah blah. So I think the dumbest thing for me, looking back, is just not. Why would I borrow money if I didn't? Again, you got to know where you are to know where you're going.
Yep.
I didn't even really understand the book, so I'd say
I'm kind of surprised that you were able to get it. Well, I guess if it comes from like dad, that's different.
Yeah.
But and some of that too is like. So, and I'm not a financial advisor, a lawyer, an accountant, or anyone approved to give any of this message, but, this is why you create layers of protection, like an LLC and stuff like that. So on some level, like you could have, well, I don't know, and we don't have to get into the personal details, but there are some protections that separate you from your business for these kind of reasons. Because, the really, like, the government and just society in general doesn't want, okay, your business flopped. They don't want your life to do it too.
Yes.
So, and as we kind of wrap up, so it's been a hot topic. We've discussed this, but these are all the reasons that entrepreneurs have issues. This will cause depression, anxiety. There's a whole lot of it. Like, I've experienced it all. Watson's gone through this before. Like, there's founder's depression. Like, it's a real thing. So, well, man, what an amazing story.
And thanks for letting me share it. I mean, honestly,
no, I appreciate it, I'm gonna stop short because, like, if we really wanted to be nosy, we could, like, get into the aftermath after the aftermath. But you know what? Like, I mean, that's different for everybody.
It is.
And now for those of you that may on some level mildly trust my opinion, Jake is a very well-rounded dude. He's like you meet him, like, he's wearing a sport coat right now, which is, like, not normal for our guests. But like, you meet the guy, like, you've rebounded, you're working in another business, it's doing great. Like, and so the thing is just because you failed, like, I mean, you bounce back. You're doing fine now, right?
I've never been, honestly, whether it be spiritually, mentally, physically. Well, let's talk about physically.
No, you look great. You don't look like you've been eating donuts.
Yeah, whatever. I'm so healthy right now. I have a team. I said this the other day to somebody else.
Is this yours?
No.
Okay.
Carol Espinoza, Fre3dom Interiors, big shout out to them. They've given me a place to heal.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes more entrepreneur in what I'm doing right now than actually owning my own business.
That's fine, man. I love having people around our businesses that are like that. Like, you say, hey, come to work every day like you own this place, and, like, you're going to be all right.
And that's exactly the culture and the people and the way they let me dream. And I still get to, when I talked about the craft creativity conversation, I get to do that in a whole nother realm. I do that now for how I work with C-levels, and I get to be a part of the journeys and the stories of culture and of brand, marketing in a lot of other companies. I just do it in a different kind of way now.
Well, that's awesome. I have one question.
Yeah.
As we close out here, we'll let this be the last one. Do you still make donuts at home?
I haven't eaten a donut in a year and a half. It's one of those things where it's kind of funny now, but I
feel like that was a really reasonable and interesting question.
No, that's a great question.
Like, yeah.
I get mad. It's still, again, the journey and the process of healing is going to take a long time, but I hate the smell of them.
Will you eat a donut again?
Of course, I think.
At
maybe.
some point?
Just not anytime soon.
Yeah. Well, Jake, thanks again.
Thank you so much, man.
And for those of you listening, I hope you enjoyed the story. Hope you enjoyed the second episode. We're going to get out of here. Look, it's all a gamble till it's not.
That's right.
Like, business, entrepreneurship, startups, all of it. It's freaking hard. It's an up and down. It will beat you up. It will challenge yesterday I have had some particularly stressful and challenging things going on. And, like, my wife has even said to me, she's like, I don't know how you do that, but you got to just figure out how you handle it, how it works for you. Remove emotion. I get blamed for that a lot. They're like, you don't understand the emotional side. Look, it's zeros and ones. It's yeses and nos, wins, losses, black and white. Like, this really is the end. And, like, you have to get some of the emotion and the other stuff out of the way. It doesn't mean that, like, hey, man, I've taken a lot of risk. I am, like, essentially, like, if it was like 200 years ago, I would be a riverboat gambler. Like, that would probably be me, or I would be the guy that just kicked the door in the saloon open, shot everyone, and then asked for names. So it happens. But, I mean, any entrepreneur now that tells you that they've never failed is lying. It just happens, man. Like, I tell people all the time, I try 10 things, hoping that one works. Hopefully you find one that'll work for you. See you next time.